Hello everyone and welcome to the grand final of the Armageddon Championship Series, the show with more kick than an out-of-control bucking bronco. I'm Grandmaster Simon Williams and I'm here with the lady in red, the lovely international master, and that's the end of my singing, Jovanka Houska. How are you doing, Jovanka?
I'm fabulous, Simon, because this is day 4 of the grand final and it's going to be a lot of action today. Now, we started off with 8 players, but now we're down to 6. And there we can see that Shankland and Bibisara Assaubayeva, they have been grayed out because they have left the competition, but some big names still remaining.
That's right, and it's getting more and more tense as the days go on, and it's just getting more exciting. I can't wait for the day's action, but I'm going to have to for a little bit. And before we do that, let's just have a look at the highlights from yesterday.
Day 3 kicked off with Wesley So and Shankland fighting it out in the lower bracket. In a topsy-turvy first game, the advantage kept shifting until Wesley horribly blundered into a lost endgame. The second game was balanced until Sam, with seconds left on the clock, lost control and allowed Wesley's king to infiltrate with decisive effect. This meant that the match had to be decided by Armageddon. Wesley, playing with the white pieces, spotted a chance to grab material and swiftly wrapped up the game to win the match.
The second match of the day saw Richard Rapport take on Bibisara. A real uphill struggle for Bibisara. In the first game, Richard got a winning position after only 8 moves. Bibisara fought back very strongly and nearly won the game, but Richard succeeded in getting the first point. In the second game, another close encounter, but Richard again came through and got 2-0 to progress to the next round.
It's been an exciting few days. We've had Armageddons, we've had checkmates, but let's take a reminder of what the 2023 season has been all about. This is the grand finale of Armageddon Championship Series 2023, the ultimate chess showdown of the year. From March till June, we had 4 amazing tournaments: the Americas, Asia and Oceania, Europe and Africa regional series, and a special qualifying stage, Women's Week.
32 of the strongest players competed for a spot in the grand finale, and only 8 of them made it through. All our events are broadcast live from the World Chess Club Berlin on Unter den Linden. This is make or break. Who will make the cut and become the Armageddon Championship winner? Don't go anywhere, this is Armageddon.
And time to mention our partners, IT.com Domains, the official partner of the Armageddon Championship Series. It's IT.com Domains, a domain registry like no other. It provides a platform for anyone to create innovative domains and effectively showcase their online presence. So don't miss this opportunity. Visit IT.com today and create your unique online image.
And we are in for some brilliant pairings, but the tournament is really heating up now. We're coming to the halfway stage today, and look at our bracket here. We started with the random pairings, but today we're concentrating on the upper bracket, where we have players who have won their matches so far. And if they lose today, they won't be going home, but they will drop down to the lower bracket. But if they win, they're in a great position to get to the final of Armageddon.
Yes, and the final of Armageddon is what it's all about. So let's take a look at today's 2 matches. And this one is going to be so exciting. We have 17-year-old Gukesh facing off against Jan-Krzysztof Duda. And then Humpy Koneru takes on Nodirbek Abdusattorov.
And let's now take a deep dive into the first match of the day, and this is a really exciting one. You've got Gukesh against Duda, and this duel has played a total of 7 games, and Jan-Krzysztof has the slightest of leads of 3 wins to 2. So it's going to be incredibly close and incredibly exciting.
It certainly is. And take a look at Gukesh's stats. I mean, they're very impressive. He's just 17 years old, became Grandmaster at 12 years old, and also entered the world's top 10 at number 8 spot just recently, as well as becoming India's number 1 player. And not only that, he won the gold medal for his individual board performance at the Olympiad last year. And let's hear more from Gukesh.
My qualifying week was very enjoyable. I won the tournament and playing against world champion Kramnik, it went to the Armageddon and it was a very thrilling match. And obviously the final match against Abdusattorov was also very thrilling, and managed to play a very good game in the final decisive game. So that's something that I'm really happy about. The biggest lesson I learned from the qualifying week was to manage my nerves. Sometimes I took some nervous decisions. I'll try to keep more calm this time. It's very nice to be back in Berlin for the final. I'm really looking forward to this final, and a lot of strong players, a lot of interesting challenges. We'll try to have a lot of fun and hope to play good chess. Almost everyone in this field is very strong. Anyone can pull off anything in this tournament. I'll just try to focus on my game, do my job properly, and see where it goes.
And today Gukesh has a serious challenge on his hands because he's playing the very experienced and good Jan-Krzysztof Duda, the dude from Poland. Grandmaster at 15 years old, he has been a World Cup winner, and he's even received the Gold Cross of Merit from his home country, Poland. He's a phenomenal player, and I think we should hear a little bit more about him now.
Last time when I was here in Berlin, I was really enjoying my time. All of the matches were very tough. I think the first one was quite crucial against Michael Adams. I was really enjoying myself, being on the good side of things in my whites game. Well, I want to win against everyone, of course. Yeah, it's a very interesting combination of players here because there are some youngsters like Gukesh or Nodirbek Abdusattorov. And also there are more experienced players, so it's a nice mixture of everyone, like willing to take risks whenever I find it, reasonable to do so. And I mean, I also have a lot of knowledge, a lot of experience. I think you just have to, repeat it and repeat it over and over again.
Yeah, what a player he is.
I know.
It's going to be great, isn't it?
I know, and we're less than 1 minute away from the start of play. And let's remind ourselves of the rules. The players will be playing 2 games of blitz at the time control of 3 minutes, plus a 2-second time bonus per move. And if the match is tied after these 2 games, everything is going to be decided by
Armageddon, and that means white gets 5 minutes, black gets 4, but white has to win, no time added on. So it's really intense, really exciting. And here is our brilliant arbiter, Anastasia, and she makes sure that no dodgy stuff happens. Not that it would, but if someone tries to steal a queen, steal a pawn, punch her opponent, she will step in and deal with them. We're not expecting that though. 10 seconds until the start.
And can you hear that clock ticking? Can you feel the pressure rising? 3 seconds, 2 seconds, and they are off. Gukesh with the white pieces. What is he going to open with? He opens with the queen pawn, and Jan-Krzysztof Duda developing the knight and also releasing the dark squared bishop, and now staking that claim in the center. And funnily enough, these two had this exact opening with colors reversed in Dusseldorf earlier this year.
Yeah, this opening is called the Catalan opening, very popular opening at all levels of the game, but most top grandmasters seem to be giving this a go with white. And the one thing that white really has here is this light squared bishop. This light squared bishop is incredibly dangerous on that diagonal, shooting down towards the rook. And white also has more pawns in the center. They're both playing at quick pace, so this is what we call in theory. And what that means is that they've probably seen this position before. They have prepared their battle plans, and they have prepared this position already.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can actually track the advantage of the players by looking at the dashboard background there on the right. And if one color dominates, then it means that that color is winning. And we just saw Jan-Krzysztof Duda there centralize his knight, just block that long diagonal. And Gukesh, he's down to 2.5 minutes, whereas Jan-Krzysztof Duda, he's barely using any time at all. And it does look like White does have this amazing pawn center, but the pieces there on the left side are looking like they're a bit tied up.
Yeah, in the first match, I mean, it was definitely Gukesh who got his openings to a better place than his opponent. But in this game, it's clearly Duda who has done his battle plan more correct here. Because with that last move, he's ready even to get his light square bishop into the game. And Gukesh has to be a bit careful here. Remember to keep an eye on the heart rates on the right-hand side, and also on the evaluation bar. If it moves up in White or Black's favor, they're going to be doing very well. I mean, White has this nice center, 2 pawns in the center, really good thing to have, but Black has nice activity. And look at that time advantage, Jovanka. A massive time advantage.
It's scary stuff. And also just look at the heart rates. Gukesh has gone up to 98 and he puts his queen, right, allowing one of the knights to trade itself for the bishop. And this was the move that I was expecting Jan-Krzysztof to play, just to attack the queen. And now how is he going to continue? Because he has to connect the 2 rooks together and he has to have a plan of improvement.
So Black has some good pieces here. That Black knight cannot be kicked away, and he's trying now to get ready to break, moving the rook in. But I like White's center. I'm a real believer in controlling the middle of the battlefield, because you can dart out to any side of the battlefield then, and White, Gukesh, is in control of that area. But he's going to have to pick the pace up, and he does. He plays a strong, aggressive move in the center, and Jan-Krzysztof playing automatically here, Jovanka.
Yeah, it looks like Jan-Krzysztof has seen this all before, and Gukesh recapturing that pawn with a knight. So there's a big threat on the board of the knight jumping to the f6 square to give a check to the king. So Jan-Krzysztof either has to just slide away with his queen, or the move that I'm probably expecting is actually to make a trade with the knights.
Yeah, there is some positional problems here for Black. Chess can basically be decided upon 2 factors: tactics, so if someone loses their queen or gets checkmated, that's called a tactical exchange. But also, to get to that position, you have to play positional chess and get the advantage with your pieces, with your pawns. And I can see this position, to my eyes, Jovanka, looks positionally quite a lot better for White after pawn takes, because the White knight, he took with a rook. Very surprised at that one, but he does get the open file with his rook there, and now he moves his bishop in to attack Black's rook. There was also another way to play. I thought White was going to try to get his knight into a great square.
Yeah, and there we did see Jan-Krzysztof Duda just moving his rook away, but this allows White to win a pawn. And again, White has a really nice threat of the bishop, just tucked away out of sight, just moving all the way up the board to trap the Black queen. And that's why Jan-Krzysztof says, nope, not happening on his watch, and he trades rooks.
Yeah, White has won a pawn, but Black has the advantage of the 2 bishops. You could also see maybe the White king getting a little bit weak later on, but I am preferring White here with that extra pawn. I mean, he's thinking about the correct way to capture. The evaluation bar, though, is funnily enough saying, well, actually, Black is doing okay here, and that surprises me a bit, because you're a pawn down, you don't have a lot of activity with the Black pieces. So why is Black doing okay here?
I think it's all to do with the dark squares. That dark square bishop is just simply uncontested. It can just plonk itself onto the c5 square, and, well, Gukesh will be having problems with his king for a long time. And there we see Jan-Krzysztof Duda make that move.
And Gukesh is so calm. He was saying earlier on in that interview that he tries to stay calm, but he's got to play with a little bit more urgency now. He brings his bishop back, and the evaluation bar does not like this move. It says that Jan-Krzysztof is doing very well now, but these are 2 of the calmest players you're ever going to see. At least it looks that way. And White would love to exchange lots of pieces off, because then his extra pawn would be a very powerful unit, but maybe it's the white rook which is a bit of a problem here. The white rook could be trapped in some lines because the black bishop stops the white rook from retreating. And Jan-Krzysztof saying, no, you're not going to swap pieces off. I'm going to move my bishop back and put it on another diagonal.
And Gukesh, just 20 seconds left on the clock. And Simon saying there's so much possibility here for black. The white rook could get trapped. Well, that's why Gukesh moves it. But it is in the eye line of the bishop. I mean, also, I would be worried about the bishop that is inactive on its starting square, just swooping into the position to have an eye on the knight.
But 15 seconds for Gukesh. He has the extra pawn, but can he use that extra pawn? It's well blockaded at the moment. Jan-Krzysztof is thinking about the right way to play this. Maybe Jan-Krzysztof can now activate his queen. I'd be very tempted. Move the queen into the center of the board. The center of the board is a great square for the queen. Maybe he can activate his bishop. He's going for a safer move, though, and this is a very slow approach. And Gukesh now using a strategy called the pin. He's pinning that bishop to the queen.
And there goes the queen in the middle of the board. And we just saw the evaluation bar say, hey ho, big mistake there. But it seems an opportunity was missed. And Gukesh attacking the queen. Queen steps backwards and wow. The evaluation bar just doesn't know where it favors.
Well, the evaluation bar is saying black is a great move here. I think bishop g4 could be an option, but this was also on the radar because that rook, he has to sacrifice the rook, Gukesh. So black is doing really well now, but they're both down to hardly any time on the clock.
Totally, and Gukesh giving a check. King moves towards the center and Gukesh attacking that rook. I mean, Gukesh, you can't write him off just yet because he does have a big pawn in the middle of the board.
But black must be the favorite here with the rook extra. And black also has control of the open line. And look at that. He moved with only seconds on the clock, milliseconds on the clock there. And we see resignations. We see Gukesh, after losing that rook, he couldn't get back into the game. And Jan-Krzysztof takes a very important win there.
With the black pieces, no less. And there we see it. Jan-Krzysztof Duda winning the first game, which leaves Gukesh in a must-win situation, playing with the black pieces. What an exciting game. Jan-Krzysztof Duda getting in his opening preparation and seemingly untroubled.
He did, yeah, and great start for us here in the studio and for today's Armageddon. And we'll look at some critical moments now. And it was looking quite good for Gukesh, but the problem was his rook. His rook was trapped in enemy territory and it couldn't get out of the enemy territory there. And in the end, that was the deciding factor. He had to give his rook, which is worth 5 points, up for the bishop, worth 3 points, so losing 2 points in total. And we can see here Duda activating his queen to the center of the board. This was quite a crafty move, and now he moves it back, and the winning idea came in a second where he got the queen into a position to attack white's rook there. So powerful play from Duda.
Certainly very impressive, and here is the moment where Gukesh has been forced to give up the rook, and all that's left for Duda is to line the queen and rook and then just come and infiltrate into Gukesh's territory.
Oh,
Little wobble there from Gukesh.
He wobbled, and here I think he might have even lost on time there because the queens were going to be exchanged. Very bad ending. So that now means that Jan-Krzysztof has a 1 point lead and Gukesh must win with the black pieces in the next game. Can he do it, Jovanka?
Well, we've seen it done before. You know, we saw Wesley So winning with the black pieces yesterday. So he just has to take inspiration from all those players. But the main thing is that Gukesh has to keep the tension on the board. He has to keep all the pieces and he has to prolong the game into those closing seconds. And we are 24 seconds away from the start of play. We see Duda there with the white pieces. Duda, he has to hold his nerves. He's just displayed some awesome preparation. We want to see more of that, please.
Yeah, very good opening preparation there from Duda in that first game, and Gukesh now has to think of an opening where he can get some winning chances, because remember, if he doesn't win, he will lose this match. He's not out of the competition, but he will drop down to the lower bracket. And Jan-Krzysztof playing the queen's pawn, and now the knight coming out. We have the queen's gambit on the board.
Yeah, and this is a critical moment for Gukesh. How is he going to keep the game alive? And he chooses an opening. It's a very sharp opening called the Rogozin. And these two also have played this particular variation against each other before. So what is Duda going to play? Well, he just develops his bishop and just ignores the pin against the king.
Yeah, you can see both of the bishops doing pinning. Pinning means they're tying down, pinning down one of their opponent's pieces. White can't move the knight by the bishop because he'd be moving into check, and black can't move his knight by white's bishop because he'd lose his queen. So this is a pinning strategy, very good strategy that the top players often use when they're trying to get their pieces into the battle here. Now, Jan-Krzysztof is just trying to recall his data bank there in his mind, and he's trying to pick a variation where he won't have too many risks. So he captures in the center and plays a solid developing move, just moving his queen one square out there. And this has all been seen, this position. I've even had this position with the white pieces myself.
Me too. And black has a choice. Black can kick the bishop, and there you see it happening. And now he can actually strike out in the center if he's feeling very ambitious. And actually, he needs to be ambitious. So, of course, Gukesh, he's not going to shy away from the fight. He immediately challenges that pawn in the middle of the board.
Yes, and now white has a decision to make. Normally white's pawn in front of the king moves because the only piece that white hasn't got in the game is his bishop. Now this is another way you can play. This is still what we call theory, established opening ideas. This is where you have to do your homework in chess. If you want to get better, you've got to do your work. Unfortunately, none of us like it, but it's got to be done. And we're still following theory. The queen comes out, and now black has increased pressure on that pin. The white knight is under a lot of pressure there on the left-hand side. Remember, the white knight can't move because white would be moving into check, which you're not allowed to do in chess. So it's about time white gets his pieces in the game here and tries to get castle. So if I was white, I'd be moving that pawn in front of my king. I have to say, Jan-Krzysztof doesn't look very comfortable here, Jovanka.
No, he doesn't look very comfortable. And instead, he centralizes the knight to an active square, getting ready to kick that queen back. But of course, Gukesh, he is an aggressive player. He jumps in with the knight, and there is huge problems there with that knight on c3. And Duda attacking the queen, queen stepping forward, but still the problems persist. Now knight takes pawn is going to be in the air. There's also knight takes knight. So many possibilities for black.
I think black's done very well from this opening, and also on the clock as well, because white, Duda, clearly is not comfortable, has not prepared this position very well because he's only got a minute left, and there's a lot of ways that black can win a pawn here, as Jovanka mentioned, and white's king is going to take a couple of moves to castle. Look at that frown on his face. He's not happy, is the dude at the moment.
He's not happy, and his clock is ticking down. You know, it's 50 seconds on the clock. His heart rate is elevated, getting close to the danger zone, and there it takes a leap up, and he's thinking, what can he do? Because there is a lot of uncomfortable pressure against the white knight on c3. He has to make a decision. He's got to move.
He spent a minute on this position. That is absolutely crazy in Armageddon. You can't spend a minute. Now he does kick the bishop away, and that bishop can now just capture the knight with check. That would gain more time, and he does. He takes the knight, gives a check. 3 points to 3 points though, because white takes back. And this is Duda's idea, to try and get his knight in the center of the board. But we see the evaluation bar not liking this, because now black wins another pawn.
Exactly, and this is the dream opening for Gukesh, because not only is he material up, he's also got a massive lead on the clock as well. Well, there is one thing in Duda's favor, is once he can get developed, once the light square bishop enters the fray, it's not going to be that easy for Gukesh.
It's true, but it is an extra pawn, and Gukesh is not going to get a better chance than this to take it to Armageddon. Look at the evaluation bar. Both players also got their heart rates up. They're both in the red there. And Duda, well, he's used to playing very quick chess, but he's going to have to here. He moves his rook to attack the black knight, and the black knight has to retreat. Otherwise, that knight would have been lost. and we're going to see the middle part of the game progressing now. White needs to get his pieces in the game, so he's now preparing his king or bishop to go to that square. His king comes into the center.
Yeah, his king comes in just to protect that rook, but still there is some troubles there for white, because not only are your material down, but the knight in the middle is also tied down, and it's not really very easy to find a good role for the bishop there on the edge of the board. And now it's Gukesh. He is thinking, what should he do with the king? Should he castle the king? Should he perhaps get a bit more ambitious and start throwing pawns on that side forward? Well, Gukesh is thinking.
Yeah, he's thinking, will he castle Gukesh or will he not castle? Now, normally you want to do this move where you move your king and rook, but sometimes when the queens are off, it's better to keep your king in the middle of the board. Not recommended at the start, though. Things can go horribly wrong if you do that. But he's advancing. He's using that extra pawn. He's trying to, okay, get a lovely square for a knight. Very clever plan there from Gukesh. That pawn he moved is going to give a foothold for the black knight to jump into with a check. It looks like a safe extra pawn, but can white win a pawn now?
No,
I don't think so.
No, you couldn't, because that pawn was poisoned. There was a nasty check with the knight on b3 happening, and Gukesh just simply reinforcing that stronghold, and now the knight jumps in with a beautiful check. And look at that pawn structure. Look at that chain of pawns that is headed Duda's way. And Duda, 2 seconds on the clock. Wow. And now Gukesh gets the king to safety.
I think Duda's only chance in this position is the bishops. They are on opposite colour squares. That means they dance around each other, and there could be, if you get to an ending just with those bishops left, it could then be a draw. But he's got a lot of other pieces to get rid of first. The knight, the 2 rooks. Duda trying to make some action on the king side, but there's not really too much going over there. Can Gukesh get those pawns on the left-hand side going down the board? Remember, you get a pawn to the other end of the board, you can get your queen back, and of course that would be a winning idea quite often.
Yeah, and Gukesh taking some time out just to make sure that there's no hidden threats against his bishop. It is loose. Otherwise, he'll be thinking about maybe maneuvering his knight out of the way, just start advancing the pawns, and instead he just moves his rook and gets ready to support the advance. But wow, Duda coming in with the bishop.
Yeah, Duda's such a hard fighter here, and he's getting a bit of coordination with his pieces, but Gukesh is now moving his pawns. They're starting to get nearer and nearer the touchdown square. Can he move another one? First of all, he kicks the bishop. The bishop was attacked. It has to retreat, and here they come. They're like space invaders, just boo 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 boo, and they're getting all the way down the board. Look at them go. They look too strong to me.
They are too strong. And Duda with just 6 seconds on the clock. This position is going to be almost impossible to defend. But Gukesh only 13 seconds as well. And Duda fighting hard to establish a blockade. And of course, Gukesh says, nope, you can't have that. And desperate times, desperate measures. And Duda has given up a piece.
But the clock situation is very intense for both players here. And hang on a minute, things change a little bit here because white has won the piece back here. That gives Duda a glimmer of hope. He's no longer a piece down. He's still got this horrible pawn to deal with, but I feel he's got some chances.
1. And yes, definitely is an improvement from 2 passed pawns coming your way, but that 1 passed pawn is 2 squares away from queening. It will be making its way to its destination, and well, Duda setting all the tricks, but there goes 1 pawn, and 4 seconds on the clock.
And you can see the white king is in a bit of trouble there, but there's no killer blow as yet. That could be the killer blow. We're going to get an ending where black is going to queen the pawn. You can see the queen come on there, and we have now a bishop versus a rook. The rook in the ending, much more powerful than the bishop. It should be winning for black here, but it requires a little bit of work because you still need to get one of your pawns to the other end of the board, and they're a long way to go with those pawns yet.
Yeah, and it requires the black king and the rook to coordinate on the light squares. And Gukesh rushing with that pawn advance. Perhaps that wasn't necessary, but okay, now the king is coming in and the bishop moves backwards just to attack the pawn.
Yeah, the black king is starting to come in, and the way you try to win this is you try to force the white king to a very bad square, and obviously you want to win one of your opponent's pawns. So Gukesh moving his king into a position where he's aiming for that pawn on the right hand side, but at the moment white's bishop is guarding that pawn, but he's going to get ready to soon go rook takes pawn, I think.
Yeah, I was actually waiting for Gukesh to do it on the move, but instead he drives the king one square forward and then just circles that king. He's getting ready to give a check. There it comes.
Very nice technique here from Gukesh, because look at the black king. It's run all the way into the position, but they're blitzing out the moves here. Their time situation is critical, but I can see another queen appearing on the board, and Duda cannot stop that pawn. His only chance is to try and use this pawn and queen.
Yeah, well, Duda making things tricky, and now here it comes. The race is in progress. Now, can Duda miraculously pull off a draw with just the pawns? Nope, absolutely not. And Gukesh does it, winning with black on demand. The match is now going to be decided by Armageddon.
That's right, we have an Armageddon match coming up there. Gukesh doing the impossible, coming back with the black pieces against the almighty Duda and winning with black. He got an ideal opening there, the Rogozin variation of the Queen's Gambit. They're long words, aren't they? Some of these chess words. But he got a great position from the start, and he played really well just to convert it into a win. He's got great nerves, hasn't he, Gukesh? He doesn't panic at all.
He certainly didn't. We saw the heart rate skyrocket, and it was this moment that, well, Duda took a long think. Long think equals wrong think, and it soon blundered a pawn.
Yeah, he did there, and that pawn was very important at the end of the game because we saw it queen, and this was another important moment where the knight jumped in, and this allowed black's pawns to make that connect free situation. Those free pawns just starting to slowly get nearer to the end. A great strategy in the middle and end part of the game, trying to get your pawns to the other end of the board where they can become a queen.
And Duda is not known as the Polish fighter for no reason, because it was about this point where he started complicating things, and it looked like maybe he might wriggle out of some trouble.
He fought really for hard, Duda, but it's so hard when you're in a terrible position. And this was a situation where Duda now wins the knight back. And I was thinking around here, he had some good chances, but the problem was his king was a little bit weak there against black's pieces, and he couldn't coordinate enough. But it's going to be a fascinating Armageddon game, and this is the end of the game. And the reason that white resigned, he's basically a rook down. You can checkmate with king and rook versus king. It's one of those strategies you first need to learn when you learn chess. And at this level, it's clear how that's going to happen. So resignations. Okay, Armageddon. Who's going to win it, Jovanka? Who are you going for?
This one is going to be insane, because both these players, they had a fabulous game. Jan-Krzysztof Duda played exceptional chess, and then Gukesh did the same. So, okay, you're going to push me to make a decision. I'm going to say Gukesh.
Gukesh. Okay, I'll go Jan-Krzysztof Duda then. And let's have a cocktail bet on this one, I feel. And we are now ready for Armageddon. Our beautiful, beautiful studio there. And we love it when it goes like this. The players hopefully can still find their way to the board in this darkness, because it does get very dark, and they're getting ready. 15 seconds to go. Who's going to have the white pieces? That makes a big difference. Well,
the big reveal is coming, and there we can see Gukesh has chosen the white pieces, which means he does have 5 minutes on the clock. Jan-Krzysztof Duda will be playing with black, gets 4 minutes, and Jan-Krzysztof will be having draw odds. And there is no time bonus, no increment per move. What you see on the clock is what you get.
And this opening has actually got a very funny name. It's called the Fort Knox Defense, based on the establishment over in America where you can't break in, break out. Black setup is supposed to be like that Fort Knox, unpregnable. You can't get through it, but this was also a little bit better for white, but Jan-Krzysztof is just saying, you will not enter, not into my Fort Knox, young man. And the knight goes in, so he's trying to make complications straight away, and you've got to take that knight with the pawn. As Jovanka said, the time in this White gets a bit more time, but White must win. If it's a draw, Jan-Krzysztof goes through to the next round, and they don't get any added time. Most of the Armageddon games, Jovanka, have really been decided on the clock, I feel.
They absolutely have. It's an important thing to consider. And there we see Gukesh just moving his queen to the center, just protecting that white pawn in the middle of the board. And he's going to get ready to line up that rook on an open line and then develop the dark squared bishop. And, well, Duda just taking some time out to castle, and sure enough, the rook finds itself on an open line.
A bit of an uncomfortable position for Jan-Krzysztof, I feel. He tries with his last move to make some exchanges, but this is very risky because White can now introduce a pawn into the attack. The problem with Black's position is it's very cramped. That white pawn in the center of the board is gaining a lot of space for White. White's bishop looks very nice in the middle of the board as well, and White's pieces in general just need to be more active here.
You almost feel that White could be really bold and go bishop takes pawn, but okay, that wasn't tactically working, but it was close. And now Gukesh pushing back that black bishop and developing his own piece. And you're right there, Simon. There's just no way for Black to untangle.
Yes, and this is a problem with Black. Black's queen is also in a very bad square, lined up against the rook. So look at the queen. It has to go to a passive square. And can White now increase the pressure? He just uses the open line. The open line is in the middle of the board. What pieces are best on the open line? The rooks. So he's going to try to get rooks there, but he's got some other options here. He can now try to exchange off bishops, White can, and I think I would go for that move. Play the bishop to a square where it tries to exchange itself off for Black's bishop, because then you get access with your knight to the king side. But okay, he's not doing that. He's bringing his rook over.
He's bringing his rook over and does feel that White is making a very dangerous attack there on the king side.
He plays it now. The bishop's come off.
Yeah, and the rook is going to swing over the queen. The black queen is far away from the defense. This is looking really dangerous for Jan-Krzysztof Duda. Almost, I would say, unsurvivable.
Yeah, and you can see the white knight is now getting ready to come in there, and this is really dangerous. The black king just has a lot of holes around it. You have this pawn which has made some weaknesses in front of the black king, and White now with the last move is going to try and get rid of Black's knight, because this is the only good piece that Black has. Why not grab a pawn? In a bad position, you might as well grab a pawn. So Jan-Krzysztof has now gone one pawn up, and I think that was a wise decision there.
I agree with that decision, but I don't think it was necessarily that wise, because the black king is going to suffer some consequences. And here comes step one. The queen is getting ready to shift herself on the dark squares and then start attacking the king. And once a knight and a queen start sniffing around the king, it is going to be all sorts of trouble.
Oh, this looks really dangerous to Black. You might even be able to push
the pawn.
Yeah, we love pushing the pawn. He's thinking about it. I think Gukesh is thinking about, oh no, he plays a calmer move first. This is also a great move because he wants to move the pawn next to the rook 2 squares, and he does. This is his whole point, to get rid of the black knight, and now the white knight can come in, but this has changed. The evaluation bar actually saying, well, Black might be able to defend this.
Well, there were some kind of downsides to this whole operation. The knight now can jump to the f5 square, and the queen is now within touching distance of her king. Is it now time to initiate trades? Yes. Jan-Krzysztof Duda does that. Wow.
Brave play from Jan-Krzysztof. He grabbed that pawn, and he's now trying to exchange some pieces off the board, and he does have that extra pawn. That was really wise to take that one. And if White can't break through, this is looking good for Jan-Krzysztof. The evaluation bar, for the first time really, in Black's favor now.
Yeah, I have to say, you know, Black's king is still pretty shaky, but take a look at White's king. White's king is not that safe either. So this might be the downside to Gukesh's play, because he can't necessarily involve all his pieces in the attack if he has to keep an eye on his own king.
Yeah, and you can see now that Black can at some point even try to grab another pawn if possible here. But they've got to play quicker here. 1 minute 40 versus 1 minute 55. And Gukesh now aiming to get an attack in, but Jan-Krzysztof comes in with a very scary idea. There's an idea of checkmate here. The black queen is threatening to move into the corner, giving checkmate. Can white defend this?
Well, you're going to have to offer trade up of queens. That's the only move that I can see. You can take the pawn with check and then just retreat the queens and say, let's go into an in-game.
But then it's a draw because the knight can just go backwards and forwards, and a draw is all that Jan-Krzysztof needs here. I think it's a draw. Is that right? If I calculate that correctly? Let's just remind everyone, if black doesn't need to win this game. Black only needs a draw to progress. And I can't see any way that Gukesh can keep this game going.
Yeah, you're right there, Simon. The Black Knight is just simply going to go backwards and forwards. And remember, Gukesh is in a must-win situation. And there we saw Duda looking to the side.
And he gives up. He gives up. He realizes there's no way he can either stop checkmate there or a draw, and both the same really, because that means Jan-Krzysztof does progress. It was looking so bad for him in that game, but that was such resilient defending there.
Yeah, it was really frantic Armageddon game. Gukesh taking the initiative, going on the offensive, and it looked like he had it in his pocket. It looked like he was going to break through, but Jan-Krzysztof Duda, ever the fighter, ever the resourceful player, he just kept going and kept the game alive.
Yeah, that was a good example of how to defend, but let's first of all see how things started to go wrong. And it was really white space advantage that was the first problem for Jan-Krzysztof. Jan-Krzysztof had no space to maneuver his pieces, so it was all like cramped in, and he had to like wriggle about there. And Gukesh kept up the pressure, but I think around here he didn't take his opportunity. He actually should have played more aggressive. That move there, Jovanka, moving the rook back, the rook could have come all the way across to attack Black's king, as you said. That was a much better idea. We should have moved you in. We should have got Jovanka in the chair there. You would have crushed him there, Jovanka.
Well, they always say the spectator sees everything, and here was another critical moment, and this is the moment when Duda finds the winning blow, puts the knight in the G3 square, threatens checkmate, and Gukesh realizes it is all over.
Yeah, there was nothing he could do there, and you can see his facial expressions here. And he gives his hand out in the normal way to resign the game. And well done to Duda. I mean, that was a really tough match, very close, and Black won in every game. We had 3 games, 3 Black wins. How often do you see that in chess? Not very often, Jovanka.
Not very often at all, and it just actually goes to show that both players came armed to the teeth with the black pieces.
They did. And we now have an interview with the loser and Dina. So let's pop over there and hear from Gukesh.
Gukesh, what a heartbreaking Armageddon. It was so close, you had such a big advantage, and yet something went wrong.
Yeah, I got a huge advantage out of the opening, and I was trying to finish him off directly, but yeah, it was just I spent a long time and I couldn't find anything, and it just went off the track.
Computer was saying that c4 was the mistake. Do you know if there were any other candidate moves at your regard?
There must have been. There's, I think, a lot of ways to get a good advantage, but I mean, already I had an advantage. But yeah, I didn't follow the right plan.
And your second blitz game was so impressive. What was your psychology at that point? Because you had to win no matter what.
Yeah, it was a good game. I lost the first game in not a very good fashion, and yeah, second game it was. He just got into trouble after the opening. Queen c2 c5. I mean, like, there are ways to get an advantage for white. In blitz, it's hard to find, and it can get really unpleasant if white is not precise.
Well, on a positive note, this is a double elimination. You have another chance. How are you going to recover after this loss?
I'll try my best. I'll try to play some good chess, and let's see.
All right, well, good luck with that, and see you very soon again.
Yeah, thank you.
Back to you guys.
Thank you, Dina. And it's my pleasure to have here in the studio with us Jan-Krzysztof Duda, who just took us on quite the adventure in his match against Gukesh. So, Jan-Krzysztof, talk us through the whole the whole event.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's been a very tough match. Of course, as to be expected. In the first game, I prepared this idea in the Catalan, idea 5b6. It's not that great, but I mean, you should know what to do with white to get any edge. And actually the line which was played in the game, I mean after a5 queen c4 is I think kind of the only move, and then black should equalize pretty easily. But I allowed d5 too easily, I think. I mean I thought I had it covered, but possibly it wasn't. It was this position. And so yeah, this bishop a6 rook c8 was imprecise, I think. But then I mean I lost the pawn, but I was actually quite happy with this position because his rook is stuck on the 7th rank, and well, I have my own counterplay potentially, and also long-term compensation with 2 bishops. So you know, in the worst case, it probably should be 10 away at endgame for black. Yeah, and then I mean, okay, it was not so easy for him to play, and I was actually lucky to spot this queen b7 move because I mean I didn't see it beforehand, and after that it was basically game over. Yeah, and then in the second game, it was very embarrassing game, of course, because at first I wanted to play Catalan, but then you know I thought, okay, there is no sense going to this because I was expecting some sharp lines. I decided to play, you know, knight f3, knight c3, and try to, you know, exchange everything, and it should do actually. But somehow, I mean, in this Ragozin I got confused. Yeah, it's probably the only line actually to play for a win with black with this knight d7 some moment. Also, there was the similar, let's say, set was headed in this epic match in the World Cup between Praggnanandhaa and Rigaisi. I mean, Rigaisi started with knight d7 first, only then bishop b4. And I remember Pragg lost 2 games with white, and I was like, how can you lose, you know, with white like 2 games in this? And then, of course, I do. I have done the very same thing. And yeah, I was, of course, I was in trouble. I mean, both on the clock, and my position was very unappealing, to say the least. But at some point, I had hope. Yeah, but I mean, I thought that when I think he blundered his pawn c4 actually, but still it was very unpleasant. Maybe objectively bad for me. Yeah, and then there was this Armageddon finally.
And we can look at your heart rates as well. I mean, it seemed like you had that pretty much under control. I mean, the Armageddon game seemed really scary. Were you scared in the Armageddon game?
Yeah, actually, I mean, scared is maybe not the proper word, but I lost the...
Bit nervous?
Yeah. I mean, he was choosing the color, and of course I would have preferred to be white, but I had to be black. And actually, I consider myself to be maybe not massive, but kind of underdog in this Armageddon. First of all, because he had a lot of experience with cramming and other matches in this Armageddon. Also, I don't remember actually when was the last time I played classical Armageddon 5 versus 4. It could have been like 11 years ago or so. I really haven't played it that much. I mean, I was playing once in Stavanger, but there was like this 10 versus 7 or so. So I mean, and I decided to play Fornox, but then got disastrous position. But I mean, it was Armageddon.
And looking ahead, you'll be the winner. You'll be playing the winner between Nodirbek Abdusattorov and Humpy Koneru. So obviously you've played Nodirbek before, but have you ever played Humpy?
No, I have never played her. And actually against Nodirbek, we played not that many games actually. I think.
Okay.
Some online and only one, I think, classical.
Yeah. Well, thank you for joining us, and congratulations once again on winning your match, and we'd like to wish you the best of luck for your next match. FIDE Online Arena hosts rated tournaments and games 24 hours per day. Join the arena and you'll get a FIDE ID, a profile on FIDE.com, and access to Pro Chess community, free access to prize money tournaments, and so much more. So play official games at chessarena.com.
Great result there for Jan-Krzysztof. You could see his heart rate was still quite up there, I think, as he mentioned as he left the room. And we're now back for our second match of the day, and we have this fascinating lineup with Humpy versus Nodirbek.
Yes, and let's take a deep dive into Humpy Koneru. She has been one of the world's best women players for such a long time. She became Grandmaster at 15 years old. Has also been Indian Women's Champion, 2019 Women's World Rapid Champion, and also she did challenge for the Women's World Championship crown. She's also been voted the Indian Sportswoman of the Year. And let's hear more about Humpy Koneru in her own words.
My qualifying week is quite exciting. I was in a must-win situation to stay alive in the tournament, and I managed to do so till the end. And again in the finals, we played a match and I lost to Bibisara. So it was a very exciting tournament, and I believe especially in this format, nobody is perfect, things has to work out well. It's important to focus on the game because there is not much of a time to recover from the loss. So it's important to stay more focused. I like this place very much, and it's more entertaining. It's completely different from the professional tournaments we play because there most of the time it's classical and rapid, and that too it's a bleach format with Armageddon included. It's more fun.
Yeah, fantastic player, and she has got an uphill task today though, because she's playing the young Nodirbek, and Nodirbek from Uzbekistan has won a lot of things already. He was 2021 World Rapid Champion, which is an incredible achievement for someone so young, and he's just a phenomenal all-round player, and we can hear a bit more detail about him now.
There is some special pressure, I think, in these tournaments. It's surrounded by a unique atmosphere, I think. So it's very important to control your emotions and to not over-stress yourself. I think I'm very warmed up for this tournament because I played many games of Blitz. It's the first tournament of its kind, so I'm very motivated to win it. I'm planning to play some interesting games, and I think it's very important to be in good shape and control your emotions during these games, and just having a great time in Berlin.
Yeah, and he has been called the mentality monster by some of the world's leading players. But now we are less than 1 minute away from the start of play. And as Humpy Koneru said, nobody is perfect. So expect the drama and expect all the fun and games here.
Yeah, Nodirbek must be the favourite for this match, being a higher rated player, but you never know in Armageddon, and Humpy has proven to be a very resilient player and a real fighter, and if she gets the right kind of start to this, she could pull up a massive upset, and we love an underdog here in the studio. We're always cheering for the underdog, so we can't be biased, but it's going to be a great match, and 10 seconds to go.
It is 10 seconds until the start of play. And there we see both players ready for the action. Nodirbek with the white pieces, Humpy black. And Humpy has a very solid style. So how will Nodirbek play to unsettle that? And there we go.
Oh, one of my favourite openings, the Jovanka London system. And this is something I specialise in from the white side. It's quite a rare opening. You avoid the Queen's Gambit, but you just bring your piece out in a sensible way. And I think this is a nice way to play against Humpy because Humpy has a real chess history understanding of the classic games. But this is a new opening. You rarely get a new opening nowadays. And this is a modern opening that maybe Humpy doesn't know so well. And this is a key position here. Humpy's got to be very careful. If she plays her pawn 2 squares, up in what you would do in the Queen's Gambit. It's actually a bit of a mistake, I feel. So what's she going to go for? And this move is very risky as well, actually.
It does. It is risky. I mean, I've seen many games where white has actually just abandoned like development, instead just focused on pushing those pawns on the right up the board. And now we're expecting the pawn to capture. I mean, you can still grab space there on the right side.
Yeah, so white now has on purpose doubled his pawns in the center. And you might think, why has white done that? Why didn't white take the queen? Well, actually, having this pawn mass that white has in the center is quite a positive thing because they control the key central squares. The last move is threatening to win a pawn as well. So Nodirbek has a little bit of pressure with the white pieces here. That queen trying to come forwards and grab a pawn. So yes, black has to defend that. You don't really want to play this move. It weakens other squares, but it's still fairly solid for Humpy at the moment. If she can keep a solid position, she keeps her chances alive.
Yeah, and that is definitely the name of the game here when you're playing with the black pieces against someone as talented as Nodirbek. So I'm expecting that Humpy has prepared the dark square bishop to come and challenge its counterpart, and then she can just focus on completing her development. But how is Nodirbek going to handle this? And he flicks in a little bit of an unpleasant check for Humpy to deal with.
Very interesting move there, and that just shows Nodirbek's talent, I think, to play a move like that, because this move is very irregular, and it's the idea to come in with the queen, and this is what we call a Karpovian idea. White has spotted a weak square, and white is trying to control that weak square with his pieces. So very positional idea. If we check out the heart rates, Nodirbek seems to be very calm here, hasn't gone over 100. Humpy a little bit high on 135. And if I was black here, I'd really want to get rid of that queen and also get my king castled. So black now, I think, trying to exchange queens off quite soon.
Yeah, but she has the problem of how can she defend that backward pawn there on c7. It's not going to be easy. So I'm expecting Humpy to perhaps challenge and chase away this dark square bishop by moving the knight to the edge of the board. But no, Humpy decides development is key and instead focuses on getting her king to safety. And yeah, I mean, looking at the heart rate, it does appear like Humpy is nervous.
Yeah, it's just a bit of an uncomfortable position for black. This queen check that Nodirbek played was a brilliant positional idea, and there's going to be a lot of pressure now on that file. That's the lines that go up where the queen is. You can see white has now introduced a rook to that file as well. I think black has to retreat the knight and try to kick the queen away, but that's only a temporary thing here. Certainly slightly better for white, this position.
Yeah, I mean, she has to do something right now. Otherwise, Nodirbek is simply going to move that knight out of the way of his own rook, and there's going to be too much pressure on that pawn. And Humpy, well, she offers a trade of queens, but I feel that this is not quite sufficient because Nodirbek is not necessarily obliged to capture the queen. Instead, he can move the knight, and it will be a rook that finds itself on that annoying square.
Look at that open file, and as Jovanka just mentioned, the rook now takes over, attacking a pawn which black needs to defend. White can now increase the pressure against that pawn, which black will need to defend again. So everything is piled up, and black is in a bit of a bind here, binded down, and the heart rate of Humpy's is showing that black can't really move much. White's rook's beautifully placed on that open line. Can Nodirbek increase the pressure now? He can try moving his pawns, maybe even introduce another piece into the game. Maybe the knight can come into the center here. But I don't know how black gets out of this bind, because it's really hard to move any pieces as black here.
If you move any of the pieces apart from the bishop, you're going to lose material. So it's absolutely difficult, and that's why we see Nodirbek get very greedy and just grab the space. And Humpy, well, she's just playing with the king, and look at that.
Very nice play from Nodirbek, and with the last move, at least black has some ideas and now moving the knight to try and chase the rook away. I think this is the idea that Humpy's trying to get in on the board. Nodirbek is just waiting and seeing and improving on the other side of the board. So here's that move, kicking the rook away. That rook was so annoying, so the rook retreats, but white still keeps the pressure in the position.
And nice move there by Humpy, actually pushing that pawn forward, controlling the white circuit. But well, Nodirbek showing why he is one of the world's best, and instead just expands there in the center, and he's going to push again.
He's gaining space with every move. I mean, you must admire Humpy's defensive strategy here, but it's still going to be very tough. The white piece is now coming in to hit new targets, and there is a pawn that is, I think, undefendable here. Okay, Humpy's still defending well.
She found a nice defensive retreat, and well, then we are going to see Nodirbek try a different attack. And he expands there on the right side. Again, this position just looks so cramped for Humpy.
Well, there might be a tactic here. Knight takes pawn, and instead we have some exchanges here. Humpy is fighting like a lioness here. More pieces get exchanged. If Humpy can just keep these exchanges up, she might better defend here. But all these open lines for the white rooks are giving Nodirbek an advantage in the position. Humpy fighting with 16 seconds now.
16 seconds, and there's a lot of pressure on those weak points that she's defending. And she's doing a remarkable job of keeping everything together, and Nodirbek just keeps turning the screw.
The bishop coming in with a big check there, and we keep an eye on the live board now as the digital one has a bit of updating, and you can see the black king looks to be in a bit of trouble here. And the clock situation, Nodirbek getting a little bit low on time, but he's creating, oh, look at that, what a threat that is. And the knight now grabbing a pawn. Black's rooks just never have been able to get in the game, Jovanka. They're just dead, aren't they, those black rooks?
Yeah, I mean, this is the problem. Nodirbek kept applying pressure until Humpy cracked, and now Nodirbek, his material up. He's down to 25 seconds, though.
He's looking for a killer blow.
He's looking for a killer blow, and he found it.
Yeah, well, he's winning the knight there. Humpy's still fighting. She's defending as well as she can, but she's been under pressure for so long. She's opening up her other rook now. She plays so well when she's got 20 seconds left, Humpy. If she played the whole game with 20 seconds, I think she'd be winning the whole competition. And Nodirbek, though, has a pawn advantage. Is that going to be enough to win? It's still only one pawn, but it might well be two pawns. I do like white's bishop as well. Having a piece in the center is so important. And that pawn now trying to get down the board to become a queen. Only 2 squares from away from queening.
Yeah, but Humpy fighting hard, throwing in a check, and then just resourcefully keeping an eye on that passed h-pawn. And Humpy playing so well with just 13 seconds left. And you get the feeling, just by the nature of their play, that it's Nodirbek the one who is panicking on the clock.
Wow,
Oh, nice!
tactic.
Nice trick from Humpy. Humpy showing us
Fighting back.
she's playing so resourcefully. Is it going to be enough?
Well, she can go check. Humpy is a master at the ending, using that experience. Can she defend this ending? She is still a pawn down, but she has some drawing chances here. The problem, I think, is that white's king is so active in this position, but she's defended so well. 8 seconds for Nodirbek. He grabs a pawn. Can he stop that pawn from queening? The black pawn. Can Humpy win this one?
Well, big
Ooh.
threat of checkmate on the board. Kate Humpy has to deal with that. She runs away with the king, but yeah. And Nodirbek throwing in a check. Which way is she going to go? Back to the center? Oh, it's dangerous there. And now checkmate threatens again. And
oh, it's so close. I think Humpy can draw this position if she has it, but she just doesn't have much time. She's got to be careful where she moves her king. She moves at the right place. Maybe she can't anymore. The white pawn is coming through quicker, and and Nodirbek wins there. Just at the end there, the white pawn was just one more square advanced up the board compared to black's pawn, and Nodirbek there wins the game. But what a fight that was. Incredible resilience from Humpy.
absolutely magnificent defensive stuff from Humpy there. But Nodirbek, he does take the first point, which means that Humpy will be in a must-win situation when she takes on Nodirbek in the second encounter with the white pieces. But the nerves are going to be jangling for both these players. They were playing with seconds left on the clock, and it got scary.
she plays so well when she gets a little shorter time. She actually outplayed Nodirbek at some point. I mean, she got a very bad position from the start, as we see here. The black rooks are just sort of stuck in the corner, aren't they? They can't get out the shed there. They're like some rusty tools, you know, but at some point they did manage to jump out, and she got a chance later on.
Yes, I was very impressed with how she kept the game alive. And here I thought it was over, but Humpy, she just kept on finding defensive resources.
Yeah, she did, and that position, well, let's have a look at another highlight, and this is where she fought so well here. I mean, White's a pawn up, and White looks like he's got everything under control, but this exchange and the next move was brilliant. This won a pawn for Humpy, got to a rook and pawn ending where she had some very good chances of drawing, but Nodirbek kept his calm, kept the pressure on, like a champion does, and even when things started to go wrong, he moved so quickly and so well.
And this was the killer maneuver that Nodirbek found with just seconds left on the clock, just to retreat the rook to this particular square, and once the king is checked away, there is nothing to stop the white pawn from promoting.
Yeah, the white pawn was just one square nearer to promoting, so Humpy had to resign there. And that means that Humpy needs to win the next game to get Armageddon. Well, I mean, Jan-Krzysztof did it in the last match. We've had a lot of Armageddons. That just shows how close these encounters are. And can she do it? I mean, it's going to be tough, right? It's going to be really tough. But if she played like she did at the end there, she can do it, right?
She can do it. And as Humpy herself said, nobody's perfect. And we also saw in the previous match how Jan-Krzysztof Duda with the white pieces just fell apart. So we will see. We will see. And they're 20 seconds away from the start of play. How is Humpy going to approach this? Bearing in mind, she is in a must-win situation. Humpy does have a very solid style. Doesn't like to take too many risks.
She does, yeah. But she's got to probably take some risks in this game because a draw is not good enough. She must create chances. She plays her normal move there, the queen's pawn, and this is the queen's gambit again. Very popular opening. We're seeing this a lot in this tournament, but the Tarrasch variation of the queen's gambit, named after Tarrasch, surprisingly enough, and this has quite a drawish reputation, but I don't think Humpy will be too upset with this because she likes these kind of structures, these kind of positions as well.
Definitely. She's just simply developing her pieces, and her plan is once the king is castled, she will capture that pawn in the middle and try and say that black has a long-term strategic weakness. And what do we see her play? She develops her dark squared bishop.
And she's playing a lot quicker in this game. She clearly knows the opening here, and what both players need to do at the start is just get their knights and bishops out. They're doing that at the moment. Things will heat up. White is considered to have better pawn positioning in this opening, but black's pieces are considered to be more active, and Nodirbek, he loves his activity with his pieces, and I expect that's why he's gone for this particular opening. He plays so well with active pieces, one of the best in the world.
He has a really universal style. I mean, there's big similarities between his style and actually that of Magnus Carlsen's. And, well, decision time for Humpy. Does she jump forward with the knight in the middle of the board? Does she reinforce the protection of that knight and simply just develop her knight? I suspect she might be going for that option. Or does she... Okay, she takes a pawn in the middle. I like this choice. And now I'm expecting her just simply to develop another piece.
Yeah, the black's pawn in the middle gives black space, but it's also a bit weak because the black pawn in the middle doesn't have any other pawns that can defend it at all. Heart rate wise, you can see Nodirbek. He does a lot of exercise. Maybe this is showing in his low heart rate there. Humpy heart rate obviously a bit nervous here. She's got to win. Even if she loses though, she will get another chance in this competition. She's got to come up with a plan though. She doesn't seem to have a natural move here, which is a bit worrying. We're into the middle part of the game and she should kind of know where her pieces need to develop.
Right, she needs to develop her knight, and she does choose a location. And Nodirbek playing so quickly, just puts his rook on an open line, and so does Humpy. Two can play that game. And threat on the board, right?
Yeah, white is threatening to move the knight in front of the rook, release the rook against black's bishop, and that means Nodirbek has to do something with that bishop, maybe move the bishop away or defend it with a queen. And he's using a bit of time now to decide the right way to go. So he does move the bishop backwards, and now white is trying to get that bishop. It is said if you can win the bishops, you get the advantage of two bishops, and she can now take that bishop if she wants to, but she will have a bit of problems defending a pawn after that. The valuation bar is actually saying she has a very nice position here, so if she can find the right moves, maybe you could even go bishop takes knight. If you go bishop takes knight and take the pawn and center, you've got to be brave. You've got to play something with a bit of risk. And she plays a very calm move, which is also not a bad move.
I really like this move because it asks some questions to that bishop. Is it going to retreat? Is it going to trade itself for the knight? Unlikely. Or is it going to support that pawn in the middle? In which case, Nodirbek will be on the defensive. But one thing that is very worrying is that Humpy Koneru has less than 1 minute on the clock, whereas Nodirbek has, well, feels like all the time in the world, just 2 minutes.
But he doesn't seem very happy with his position, and I can understand that. I think that Humpy's idea with the rook was a brilliant idea, and she's playing very, very well in this game. She's doing everything on the chessboard correct to give herself good winning chances.
But this decision was very surprising to me. Just to give up the bishop pair in what is an open position. And I love this idea by Humpy. She's just simply gonna push that pawn forward and pile on the pressure on black's lonesome pawn in the middle.
Yeah, I mean, I think both captures look pretty good there. White now does have the two bishops. They're striking across the center here, and Nodirbek has to decide what to do, because white is threatening to win the, well, not win, but exchange the other bishop off. And then it'll be two bishops versus 0. Just a bit concerned about Humpy's time, but Nodirbek is going short of time as well. We're going to have a very exciting finish here.
Yeah, and there we see Nodirbek centralize the rook, and it's decision time for Humpy. Does she grab that bishop? I would say yes, please. And now Nodirbek's pawn structure is terrible. Also, the two knights don't really work that well in open positions, and I love this move. Just moving that rook 1 square forward, getting ready to relocate itself, and there you go. That pawn in the middle of the board is going to get corralled where possible. And Nodirbek just showing us why he is one of the world's best, because that knight is getting ready to find a home on the c3 square. Humpy, just 17 seconds left on the clock. She finds this nifty queen maneuver.
Yeah, if Humpy can win the black pawn in the middle, she's got great chances of winning it, and she's getting ready to move her rook behind the other rook here. So Nodirbek does the right thing, goes as active as possible, and now the black knight flies in, and this move is really unpleasant for Humpy. I think she missed this idea. That is a beautiful black knight. Now look at that. She's shaking her head. She's realized she's blundered under pressure. This is the problem when you get short of time. You can't deal with these tactical moves that come from nowhere as well as you'd like to. And Nodirbek has now 1 point. He's got the 2 rooks. He's looking very comfortable now.
Yeah, and now the rook comes down to the second row. This is the perfect line for a rook to be on, and giving it a check. Nodirbek has everything. He has extra material. He has a passed pawn in the middle of the board. He just has to be careful. And a trade of rooks, and now the queen offers itself up for a trade. Humpy fighting hard, but this is an uphill task.
Yes, that rook is just so good here, and also black's pawn in the center can be quite scary for white if it ever gets moving up the board. And to make matters a little bit worse, there's also the time problem. Humpy has under 10 seconds here. She's got to try something, and she does now get those pawns moving. I think this is a great thing to try. You've got to open up Black's king. Try to just attack Black's king now. When your position's really bad, you can throw them, and here they come. So she's, you know, still fighting away here.
Yeah, we mustn't write off Humpy there. She's finding ways to keep the game alive, but okay, she's allowed the pawn to step forward one more square, and just 8 seconds on the clock.
And it looks now like the queens are coming off, and this is also in Nodirbek's favor because endings are looking very good. And now Black breaks the blockade, Humpy resigns, and Nodirbek through to the next round with a powerful performance. And yes, so there you go. I mean, Humpy was, you know, she had some chances there, but, you know, just didn't grasp them. Missing a couple of tactics at key moments, and that's the thing with these, you know, brilliant world's elite players. They don't give you many chances or any chances, and
they find those opportunities, right? Because we were thinking that Humpy was doing very well. You know, she had the bishop pair, she had a target to attack, but then from nowhere,
the knight,
it just came in, and it was boom, and
that was right.
Too difficult to handle.
Yeah, and it was around here where we really liked Humpy's position. She could have taken with a bishop here, but pawn takes was also a good decision, and she got one of Black's bishops off the board. But it's funny how Black's knights ended up dominating. So it wasn't the bishops which were good, it was the knights. And they do say in the quicker time limits, knights can be better than bishops. They're trickier. You don't know where they're going to go. They can jump around left, right, everywhere. You never know where they're going to end up.
Yeah.
And
this was the moment, right, Simon?
This was the mistake, allowing the Black Knight to jump in, and just the way he delicately moved that piece, you could tell he realized that was a great move. You could see, I love that little sweep of the arm. And here, well, Humpy just forgets about her rook, and there goes the rook. Say goodbye. She shakes her head in a bit of upsetness there as well in her demeanor.
Yeah, there was some regret, and here was the moment where everything just went completely lost. The blockade has broken, and Humpy is forced to resign.
Yeah, that was tough there at the end. That pawn in the middle of the board was just going to steamroll her through to the end. We've seen that be used so many times. Pawn to the end, get a queen, and your opponent has to give up. So, but it was a tough match, and yeah, I think we're very shortly going to have an interview with Humpy and the loser. So we're going to go over there now, and let's hear from Humpy after that match.
Humpy, that was a very tense match. Unfortunately, didn't go your way, but you fought so good and had chances in the first game for sure. How did you assess it?
Yeah, I think my opening play was very passive, and I was in a defending position. But somehow after wending into the losing position, I found this rook h6, rook g7. I felt I missed something in the rook endgame, but it was like out of control for me in the last few seconds. And in the second game, I just completely blundered the rook. It was like probably too tense because I was in a must-win situation.
How did you enjoy the experience to play such a top youngster as Nodirbek?
Yeah, definitely. Of course, my opponent is much stronger than me. I think my best chances were in the first game towards the end. Once I slipped it, I was just playing normally, and today it was a bad day for me.
Wow. Sorry. Today was a bad day for you, you said, but you have another chance.
Yes, of course. Yeah, tomorrow I'll be playing Wesley. Yeah.
What do you think about that one?
We have played once in online tournament. Well, I'll keep fighting.
What lessons will you learn from today, let's say?
Well, it was important to, have a very good strategy because I was completely outplayed in the first game.
All right, well, lots of best luck, better say, and see you tomorrow.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dina. And joining us in the studio is Nodirbek Abdusattorov, who just beat Humpy. And talk us through the match, because it looked like it was smooth sailing, but then you lost control.
Yeah, in the first game, I got a very good position out of the opening. Yeah, this was kind of preparation, this nice 3 bishop f4 line.
I saw that little look there. I was very happy when you played it, I have to say. So I was like,
Yeah.
above London. So
it's very tricky opening, and I think if in Blitz, it's especially you're making like quick moves, and that's I think the most important in
we
the
thought
opening.
your Queen A4 was very clever.
Yeah.
Oh
This
Queen
was,
A4
really nice,
was to just it was weird for her to to block this check, because if she could block with Queen, I think I could take on C7, and this knight is forced, then Queen comes to C6, which is very strong, and White has a very good positional advantage.
Yeah, looked like a nice game, that one. And the second game, it looked like Humpy played pretty well. I mean, she got the 2 bishops, but you managed to get enough tactical chances there with your knight coming in. Looked pretty good. So that must have been nice when your knight finally got to that square.
Yeah, it's kind of typical Tarosh middle game where, White has this bishop pair against... in my case it was 2 knights, but normally it would be like bishop and knight. So it's kind of typical, where White presses on the isolated pawn, but Black gets active play, which happened in the game.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, no, it was a good match, and we were like wondering, do you get nervous? I mean, your heart rate was pretty stable there. I mean, 114 is for when you're in with the lights there and all the the cameras, it seems like you're very calm. Are you as calm as your heart rate is indicating?
Yeah, I think it's partly because I got comfortable positions in the game, so not complicated, and I think at the end of the first game I got a little bit higher, but overall it was very stable.
You still felt calm, because at that moment I was speculating that with your clock ticking down, and obviously in light of what had happened earlier, that maybe you'd be looking a little bit flustered.
Yeah, well, not as flustered as Humpy's heart rate there, unfortunately. So
173, that's high.
That is quite high, yeah. I mean, it's scary. I would be very scared in there, definitely, and especially playing you. But we have the brackets here, and you're now in a great position. So you've moved through, and you're playing against Jan-Krzysztof Duda. And do you have any thoughts about that match there? But you're in a good position. Actually, I was following this Jan-Krzysztof match against Gukesh. Yeah, it was very, very crazy match. I think, obviously Jan-Krzysztof is very, very strong, very strong blitz player, and he has won many blitz tournaments. Like he's been showing like stable performance in Grand Chess Tour. So yeah, it's going to be very interesting. Yeah, I hope to give my best, and hope to fight. Okay, well, we look forward to it, and I hope you enjoy a bit of a rest now and enjoy a bit of Berlin as well. But thank you very much for joining us, and cheers.
And as a technology and digital privacy company, Kaspersky supports the secure advancement of chess in the digital space and its expansion into online tournaments. It's a perfect combination of human excellence and strong technology.
Another day, another great day of chess, and we're sort of over halfway now. We can see they're getting near the right-hand side of that bracket, near to the end, so it's getting very exciting. Jovanka.
I know, and we're soon going to find out who's going to get eliminated tomorrow. It is elimination day, and these 4 will be battling it out. Humpy Koneru takes on Wesley, whereas Richard Rapport will be facing Gukesh. That one is going to be wild.
Yeah, some really big games there, and I love Elimination Day. I don't know, maybe it's a bit of a cruel side. Like, you know, they get kicked out and they go home, but the tension is that much higher because you don't get any more second chances. So it's scary enough, as I mentioned already. The Armageddon is fierce, it's quick, but it's even more fierce when the timing and the kicking out is there, and it's guillotine.
And the stakes are high. So, and then of course we have the big finale coming up. Ooh, anything can happen.
That's right. And another great day, Chess. So we hope to see you all tomorrow. And thank you from me, the red-bearded person, and from the lady in red. So there's a lot of red going on today, but we'll see you all soon.
Thank you for watching.